This is an unofficial audiobook. Narrated by Chimichanga.
The Epic Saga of Wulfrik the Sarl. Translated from Old Vanaheim Norse. Original author unknown. Lo, the glory of Wulfrik of the Sarl. Through his splendid achievements, the giant warrior's fame and greatness was known among the Norskin tribes. How the countless heads of champions did roll by the powerful swipes of his blade, claimed by him as blazonry on his armor forevermore. A warning to any foolish enough to face him in battle. The howl of the mighty hound, god of warriors, rang throughout the north, as the Aisling tribe called out the Sarl for battle. The Sarl marauders would oblige, for the fortunes of war had favored them before, and their king, Vilgundir, a chosen of the eagle, a most wily leader. Alas, the Sarl were a numerous band, but still far outnumbered by their age-old rivals. The Aislings of the north had their leader King Torgold, the terrible besworded scourge of many tribes, a twisted chaos lord, wrecker of mead benches, rampaging among foes, a terror of the tribes that would come far for relentless war. King Viglundir of the Sarl was a practical warmonger, ever ensconced in his hole, knowing that in facing his Aisling counterparts and his superior numbers, the end of the Sarl may be nigh. So, to the throne room, the most awesome warrior of the Sarl was summoned to commune. His courage proven, his glory secure. Wulfrik was given the most bountiful offer by his king. Knowing there were no mightier men-at-arms to walk the old world, Viglundir implored Wulfrik to be the mainstay of the Sarl war machine, and he spoke with a beseechingness. If that terrible Chaos Lord King Torgold finds glory in this war, he will glut himself on the blood of the Sarl in this very hall. But if you, Wulfrik, be lord and master of the Sarl warriors on the killing fields, steadfast companions will surely stand with you to hold the line, saving us from certain oblivion. Wulfrik's recompenses were proffered, riches, rank, and privileges of a king. But the most undeniable prize was the hand of Viglundir's daughter, Princess Hjordis. Nothing of his chief gladdened Wulfrik's heart, a pathetic shadow of illustrious predecessors. But to have the Sarl's princess as his own, the fair and shapely maiden was undeniable. Wulfrik would have his love and lust sated for facing the Chaos Lord of the Aisling. For Hjordis was the most precious trophy of all, a balm in the bed of any battle-scarred Sarl. The rival tribesmen then did meet in the death fields. Terrific confrontations of guts and gore, with the gods gazing down in amusement at the atrocious hurt, otherworldly crackling echoing in the ears. Devout marauders doomed to slaughter as the battle waves bided between rivals, snow-drenched crimson with the blood of tribesmen. Then, on that glorious day of the Battle of 1,000 Skulls, King Torgold took to the death fields, havoc wrecking amongst the Sarl battle lines, making butchered corpses out of many with demonic glee. Offerings given to his dark masters. A corpse maker mongering death with his great blade. Wulfrik emerged from the crowds, scouting the death fields for the Aisling king, hunting for his prey amongst the mobs of vicious melee, all the while like moving death, ripping limb from limb of enemies that got near his stead, decapitating, disemboweling, dismembering. Finally, Wulfrik and Torgold met each other's hateful gaze across the killing fields. Blood boiling, hearts pounding, a surefire frenzy of inevitable violence. Their clash became ever more certain, rushing towards each other with God-imbued speed, the fate of each tribe resting upon this duel of champions. The marauders' eyes transfixed on the two giant combatants, bearing witness to a frightening display of martial skill between the war leaders. Explosions of noise of clattering weapons and shields, against the backdrop of warriors stilled and silenced with awe. As blinding sparks were thrown about in every direction, metal struck metal over and over with tremendous force. Torgold would make the first fatal mistake. One careless move, his sword-bearing arm skillfully caught by Wulfrik in an armlock, forestalling him utterly. A hand grip harder than anything Torgold had encountered from any man, causing him to drop his great blade. Now trapped and weaponless, every bone in his body quailed and coiled, for he could not escape the inevitable. Wulfrik primed his sword, the blade red hot from incredible impacts of the duel, eyes burning with dark energies as he looked upon his quarry, plunged the blade into Torgold's belly, twisting it every which way as he stabbed, blood gushing from the wound. Grunts of deathly pain muffled by his blood-filled mouth. King Torgold was a hardy champion, his wound not immediately sending him to death, but Wulfrik had meant this to be. First claiming the sword of Torgold for his own, then swung the king's own blade in a huge arc, a resolute blow that bit into Torgold's neck bone, severing it entirely. The Chaos Lord's expression of fury and helplessness still frozen on his decapitated head's face as it rolled. The cheers of the Sarl kinsmen rang out, chanted praises of their dark gods across the battlefield, and of Wulfrik, who picked up his trophy, impaled the fallen Chaos Lord's head upon an armor spike donning his armor. As the droves of Aislings turned and fled in the panic of defeat, their king Torgold having met his end. The head of the Aisling snake had been cut off. The war over. Elated and victorious, Wulfrik grasped the ancient sword of Torgold, beholding an iron blade of unsurpassed craftsmanship, tempered in blood. Held aloft for the Sarl marauders to see, he bellowed the war cry. "Blood for the blood god!"